One of the worst of human sufferings is to not find a way to love, or a place to work and give of your heart and of your being. From the Buddhist tradition, the Lama Surya Das writes, "Giving brings happiness in every stage of its expression. We experience joy in forming the intention to be generous. We experience joy in the actual act of giving something. And then lastly, we experience joy in remembering the fact that we have given." I don't really have to explain the benefits, the health benefits of being generous, but there are a few that studies show. Being generous increases our ability to cope with physical pain and symptoms of chronic disease. Volunteering has been associated with significant decreases in blood pressure, and stomach acid, and cholesterol levels, and increased immunoglobulin A, which boosts our own immune system. In fact, volunteering has been correlated with a lower risk of mortality in older adults, decreased symptoms of stress, and better sleep. This is due to the phenomenon called helper's high, which is a release of the endorphin, those natural mood-elevating and pain-reducing chemicals produced by the brain, when we engage in a simple act of generosity. But generosity, as Jack Kornfield writes, it does not often come naturally to us. We must practice. The lack of generosity usually comes from fear, a fear that there will not be enough for me, that I will not have enough love, I won't have enough money, I won't have enough time, I won't have enough safety, not even grace. And when we constrict in that fear, we hold on to what we have all the more tightly. And the tighter that we hold on to that most precious and scarce, that resource seems scarce, and we hold tightly still. Our fear creates a contracted and false sense of self. This false or small self grasps our limited body, our feelings and thoughts, and tries to hold on to them and protect them. We're afraid to open. We're afraid to live fully. We're afraid to change. And that body of fear can become a habit. And out of that habit can come greed and hatred and delusion. Henry Newland from the Christian tradition writes, "Every time I take a small step in the direction of generosity, I know that I am moving from fear to love." And the Buddhist beliefs hold that at our core, each of us is deeply and fundamentally good. We possess that Buddha nature, potential Buddhahood. Each of us has a deep reservoir of goodness and kindness and generosity and potential. Where have you heard this before? With our UU principles. We all believe that we have inherent worth. We all have dignity. We're good. We all have a deep reservoir of goodness and a sense of just and equity and compassion in our human relations. There are a few different ways you can think of it when you think of being generous. The first one is to make it a choice. I know myself, if feel cornered and pressured into giving, it sucks the joy out of giving. Another way of being generous is to think of it as a connection. A connection with yourself and a connection with the person or the organization that you're giving to. Generous listening is a big gift, a virtue that we can invite and nurture in ourselves. And generous listening involves being a little bit vulnerable, being a little bit willingness to be surprised, to let go of our judgments, and to take in the ambiguity of the person that we're listening to. A generous listener wants to understand the humanity behind the words of the other and patiently summons their own best self and their own best words and their questions. And the last is impact. You can think, how will my generosity make an impact? Well, for example, the board recently approved a generous amount of money to be sent to a sister congregation in Hawaii whose church had burned down. And the church, the denomination, was the denomination in Washingtonville who had opened their arms to us when our building burned down. So that intention was there, that connection was there, and that generosity made an impact. There was a congregational pledge that was written by Carl Gregg, UU Congregation of Maryland, and he wrote, "My congregation is composed of people like me. I help make it what it is. It will be friendly if I am. It will be kind, forgiving, and welcoming if I am. Its seats will be filled if I help fill them. It will do great work if I work. It will make generous gifts to many causes if I am a generous giver. And it will bring others into worship if I invite them and bring them. It will be a congregation of love, of fearlessness, of faith, of compassion, of generosity, of charity and mercy, if I make it what it is and fill it with these things. And therefore, I dedicate myself to the task of being all things that I want my spiritual home to be." And so, that's precisely what we are celebrating here today. Our new members' generosity of spirit, of talent, the gifts they bring to us, and we give generously in return. In our new member in-gathering, we are welcoming 3 new members into our community. Those new members will generously pledge to bring their full selves to us if we are willing to do the same for them. And they have recognized the same thing that our ancient ancestors did, that it's simply a more enjoyable human experience when it is shared with others. I'm grateful to be on this journey with all of you and with our new members, and I look forward to continuing with you on the path towards ever greater generosity, generosity of mind, generosity of wealth, and generosity of spirit. And now I invite Diane and Jim Tarvin up to introduce our new members.
I'm just going to get Michelle to come in.
Okay.
I have the pleasure of introducing Stephen Deutsch. Steve, you want to wave your hand so people can see? He's going to be up here in a few minutes. this, but Stephen was born and bred in the Bronx. I probably shouldn't ask for a Bronx cheer, right? But anyway, he was born.
Jill, can you speak into the mic a little bit?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Okay. Some of you share that background in the Bronx, and you can exchange stories with Stephen about the old days. He received a degree in civil engineering from City University, and he served as the town engineer and building inspector for the town of Woodbury for 20 years, among his other experiences. Now he's retired, but he still occasionally does house inspections. He and his wife moved to Orange County in 1968, where they raised 4 children. They had met as members of a choral society in New York City, a society that sang in Carnegie Hall and the Lincoln Center. So, Marshall, there's a...
I didn't know.
Sadly, Stephen, after 56 years of marriage, lost his wife this past July. Stephen enjoys playing the piano, reading, walking, gardening, and he resides in Cornwall, New York. Stephen, we're delighted to have you join us today.
Today we have 3 members joining us from Cornwall. How's about that, right? So Michelle and Stephen and family moved to New York this past summer. They have lived in 7 different states in 15 years. And they're excited to be settling down in their, hopefully, forever community of Cornwall, New York. They were part of a UU congregation in Augusta, Georgia, and are grateful for the welcoming community at UUCRT. Stephen teaches philosophy at West Point, and Michelle is a pediatric speech-language pathologist with a special interest in literacy and reading disorders. June is in the 2nd grade. She loves arts and crafts, audiobooks, and outdoor adventures. Emmett is 2 years old, kissing his mom right now. He loves trains, dump trucks, and splashing in puddles. So, the Di Lorenzos, we are so happy and honoured that you wish to join our congregation. So, welcome.
Yes.
Okay, can we have all our new members come forward, please?
Just push us in from the top.
And
Yep. That's good. We'll just hold it.
Just square. These are brief. There you go. And there's 2 for the children. So they get rid of them.
stand on stage.
It's in the OS.
Today, we welcome into our community these new members. We have chosen to make a commitment to this congregation, and they'll be signing the membership book. New members, we are so glad to have you here with us, and that you have chosen our community of fellow seekers to travel with you on life's journeys. Will you accept our gifts of fellowship, discovery, and service? Will you offer us your unique presence and gifts? Will you add your name to the long history of Unitarian Universalist women and men who spread hope with our living faith? And will you engage with us as we seek to create a community and a world dedicated to love and justice?
We will.
We will.
Great. Let us say together the UU covenant, the promise that we make to ourselves and to each other, which holds our community together with common purpose and common love in the midst of our beautifully diversity of belief. Everybody?
Love is the spirit of the church.
In
the
the
service
service
of
of
its
law.
This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to talk of one another.
Thank you. Should we say that again with the whole congregation?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Does everybody have a copy?
Yes.
It should be.
It's the last line
It
of
should
the
be
OS.
the last line.
Last line.
Okay, with gusto. I'm feeling it. 1, 2, ready.
Love is the spirit of the church, and service is law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another.
Okay, we have Diane? We have book. Yeah. Right page.
There's a ribbon.
Not like that.
Okay.
Is it? Okay, Stephen. Ah, thank you. I know we have to start over, so. Here we go. Let's go right here. That's
Okay.
I know, maybe it
Sign on the dotted
should
line.
be that hard.
Don't change your mind.
There you go.
Yes.
It's really tricky to remember your address when you've lived so many places. They all blend together.
Now, I'll see if you're a neighbor of mine.
Hold on 1 minute. Here. Go ahead, Stephen. Sign. She's a prisoner.
And we have small gifts from the This and Steve. Somehow Linda found 2 copies of the 150-year anniversary books to give to our new members.
feeling. Let's sing our last hymn. Like a bridge over troubled